right, we're back
Yo,
at
what's
it.
up, everybody? It's Fat Jesus Live.
Yeah, we back at it. So, today's
Oh, today, what's today? It is Revenge
oh
of the
yeah,
Sith Day.
yeah. Everybody's talking about that. I forgot
I
about
got
it.
I
You got
got
your
my
shirt on.
shirt.
Yeah, you got your shirt on. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Happy
yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. It's the
So,
fifth.
yep. And Cinco de Mayo too. And
Well,
Cinco
yeah,
de
yeah, yeah.
Mayo.
Yesterday was Cinco de.
Tac-
Well, no, today is Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. So
So I mean, it
tacos.
depends. I don't have my tequila with me right now.
Yeah, yeah. So, the book that we're gonna go over today is this lovely book right here. Knowledge of Self is by some Dr. Supreme Understanding, or is edited by him. It's basically a book about 5%ers, and we're gonna go into the conversation about it, but it gives you a little bit of science stuff. It was an international bestseller. Do understand that
Heard.
Supreme Understanding is not his real name. It is a name that he chose. I
I've
can
heard,
never,
buddy.
I can never say his real name, so I'm not even gonna try. But I've learned a lot from this guy. I like his books. I just don't like how he put his books, like how the words that he used, kinds of throws me off. So I know that somebody that if he's trying to share knowledge with that doesn't follow that type of language, they're not gonna get through this book very easily, right?
No, no, not
It's
at
not
all.
so.
It's not an easy thing to get through. And
So
and if you don't understand it, especially if you're of white culture or Asian culture, it's very difficult to understand because you haven't lived or grown into that certain type of level of culture. So if you don't understand how what poverty is, or the systematic feeling of being pushed into poverty, you're gonna have a hard time understanding this level of book. And it does I think it does a really good job into explaining what he's been through in life, and in that time frame. This is the 1970s, 1980s,
no, not
and
this
it
one, not this one, not
not
this
this
one.
one right here,
Not
but
this
this is
one.
more modern. He does have other books that explain more back then, and he is still living, the author, and he lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Supposedly that's what I looked up. We're trying to get him on the podcast. If you are listening now,
Yeah, I got it, bro.
and watching. Oh no, he's watching. He's watching. Everybody. I'm always the assumption that anybody that we talk about in their books, because it's gonna pop up in the if they look up their books or something, we're gonna be popping up on the top of their list. They're like, oh my gosh, these people are talking about their book, and yeah, that's gonna be us. So you know what I'm saying? So hopefully, and this is an invitation to the author. We would love to have a conversation, and we invite you to our podcast.
All right, so saying that, I'm gonna read because what he does say in his books. I don't know how many books he has. I have majority of them. I'm probably missing like one, maybe two. But uh, he says that he loves for people to share what he wrote. So I'm just gonna read a part of his introduction. It says, "It has been written on the walls of temples since man's earliest history. Know thyself. Knowledge of self
Yes.
isn't some new age hippie feel good philosophy, nor is it an ancient religious doctrine of some kind. No one is asking you to burn incense, grow dreadlocks, make animal or human sacrifices, wear sandals, do yoga, or drink cyanide laced Kool Aid for a charismatic leader. No, fortunately, that isn't what knowledge of self is about. You don't have to beg, pray, meditate, fast, or give your money or things away in order to attain knowledge of self. All that is required is that you be sincere, courageous, and thus you pay attention. To know oneself is a gift that all humanity deserves to be presented with to be imparted with their awareness to constantly explore one's ideas in the most empowering manner, to delve into one's nature truthfully, share in a way that betters all, to have the great weaponry available to identify and protect oneself from one enemy, or any oppressive measures. These are achieved supremely with the knowledge of self. So this is what you was talking about, asking about when you was talking about the 5%er. So this is what it says. It's
Yes.
the nations of gods and earth teaches we are the creators of our entire universe. Subsequent reality, yet indeed it did not begin with us. Since the earliest recorded times, many of the ancestral cultures and civilizations have shared that the idea of man as God, the woman as the earth, and the mathematical nature of the universe. Throughout history, this teaching has emerged, been repressed, and reemerged again in this way. The element of the 5% in society is a timeless reality. However, the nation of gods and the earth truly adds on a unique perspective in many enlightening ways. So that's what 5%ers is. They're creators of their own universe, and the women are the goddess of the earth, basically. So I have a lot of tabs like I always do. So like I was telling you, this is basically a book about different of what they call a 5%ers. And basically a 5%er picks their own name basically that relates to them of some sort. And there's a whole type of discipline that comes with it. A lot of it is explained. Like one guy was walking around with like a 5%er regalia, and he didn't understand what it really meant and stuff, and somebody took it off him, and then he had to learn the knowledge. It's like anything, like somebody faking anything, like if they was walking around saying they were in the skulls and bones or something like that, and somebody was checking them, or if you're in some sorority or fraternity or something like that. So it was pretty much the same thing, but they do things differently. Like I said, from what I understand, the 5%ers, they all don't believe the same thing. They have a foundational belief, but they don't believe in all the same thing. It's the
They're
same.
supposed to believe the same thing, don't they?
Not really, because everybody has their own
But
journey.
that would be so disconnected. I mean, aren't they supposed to be on the same level, same plane of existence with each other? Wouldn't that just break apart the group if they're all in different belief systems?
Well, it's not a group. It's kind of funny how they identify themselves, because it's not necessarily a group that that they try to be a part of. It's just like a
Group.
community or something like that. It's kind of hard to put it in words because, like I said earlier before we got on live, these individuals are people who have different journeys in life. Like they had different journeys. Like everything was different. That's part of why I kind of it helped me with my title of my book, because I have my own journey through history and learning it. So like one of the first person that's on here, um, and I'll show you what it looks like, because every person it has a page like this
I see it. Yeah.
with the person, and it
Uh-huh.
tells you who they are, and it tells you their chapter, and it's what they wrote. So it's not like one person. It's the book is full of different people, and that's who we're going to go off
And you
of.
see how they use the word interior cipher? Cipher is like a code word amongst the 5%ers. And
It's
there's certain words that they use that are specific within the group. And then when they say they're not religious, but yet they use like code words that are somewhat seems
it's
like it
weird.
leads to being religious, right?
One thing that they it depends on
Like
what
a
you
secret
consider.
society of some sort.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to describe them, because like I said, I grew up in the hip hop community. I know how they were. I know Wu-Tang Clan, Rakim. I was telling you about that earlier,
Yeah.
and they're in a lot of that old school hip hop
Nation of
music.
Islam.
Yeah, and them too, they're in there too. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of hard, because I know uh, I know the community on the hip hop side, and I know what some of them done, and I know what some of them claim to be. you know. So I'll read the first one, like right here. This guy, his name, the first chapter, his was identity crisis, and he called Love, Hell, or Right. And his name he chose was Intelligent Tarif Allah, Interior Cipher, New York. And I'll give you because he has love, hell, and I'll give you a little bit of each of what it says. Let me see something real quick. Let me flip page.
My question in that whole ordeal is that how many of them were Catholic, Christian, or were they all Muslim?
No, that's the thing. They're all different. Like when you was talking about the Asian culture, there's actually an Asian guy in here too. I have hopefully I'm pretty sure I tabbed hit something up on him, but he's actually in here too. But there's so many different people. So I'll show and I'll tell you.
Nation of Islam was specifically black people, right? And then they broke off, and then they created the 5%ers, which is a mix of all different types of minorities. Correct?
Well, it's from what I understand, some people claim the history different, so I'm not even going to try to get into the history. I know what he claims in here, and and that's why we're going to go into what he talks about.
I'm sorry for putting you in the hot seat. I didn't want to make. No. I mean, you're not like the next president, you know.
No, I know the history, but I know what he says, and that's why I want to use his words because he has it actually in here. But I also know what other people have said too. Like I know what, like I said, I've heard different.
It's not like they're gonna make a consensus and they're gonna like elect you as being the next leader.
Let me see if I can. Right? I want to.
Like, oh, we're just gonna make this guy the leader or something. The one that has the most knowledge.
Yeah, here we go. So this is what he says for how he grew up. He said he grew up with parents and an older brother in the crime-infested Brooklyn neighborhoods of East New York and Brownsville. His parents were from the South, but they were not the stereotypical Southern church folk. I remember attending church twice, once with my grandmother and once with my friends as I pursued a girl whose Sunday best fit the type for the Lord's house. I don't know what that meant, but what he exactly meant by that. But anyway, in my home, the word God was usually trailed by the obscenity damn. So basically, goddamn. And there was no Michelangelo depictions of a pale Christ or wooden crosses adorning my walls like I saw in the homes of my friends. So that's basically how he grew up. His hell was he says, I excelled in daycare and elementary school. So those classroom settings were heaven from the beginning to the end, but junior high was hell at first sight. IS 292 was a fashion show, boxing ring, and dating servers rolled into one. The sidewalk in front of the school was a runway for students turned fashion models. On the first day of the school, after the day one outfits were hung up, true style was defined by the few students whose parents afford wardrobes of Calvin Klein and Guess, or those pupils who had a collection of Polo and Gap courtesy of crime. And then
let me ask you a question. Did any of these guys said, I'm going to do a school shooting or I'm going to destroy
we ain't even going to talk about that. We ain't going to talk about that.
Yeah, but they were never violent, right?
No, they weren't violent. Yeah, that's why I ain't even going to talk about.
That's what I'm talking about. They were just trying to get their word out, and they were focused on that. Yet the government pinned them as a terrorist group. They went around pinning them as a terrorist group, which was pretty much not cool.
I think this is the same thing. Yeah.
They were okay. Mostly the government was afraid of their organization or the way they were more organized than anything else.
Well, that was with any strong Black African American groups of individuals when they had a strong presence. The government did certain things to shut them up. If it was any time, in some ways to benefit the neighborhood, it was looked bad, and that's kind of sometimes some of the things that they did fight against. I mean, there was a lot of. So here, let me read this. So because this actually explains it. Because you was talking about Nation of Islam and all those other people. other groups. I mean, so he said. So this guy right here actually says, my mind flashed back to Elijah Muhammad's book where he spoke of the white man being the devil, and a speech of Malcolm X. I had seen where he had said the same. They both cited the historical atrocities white people had inflicted on people all over the world who were not white. But I was in an argumentative mode. So this is this guy. This is what he says. He said, but I was in an argumentative mood. So I said, you did negativity. That's why you're here. Me too. And I'm black. Plus, a black man tried to kill me. So you see what he was trying to say right there, right?
Mm.
And then and then he said that Shah Grant again, that's duality. He said there is positive and negative in everybody. It doesn't matter what race it is. Being God doesn't mean that the black man can't do anything negative, just like the white man being the devil doesn't mean that he can't do anything positive. Now listen to that. That's powerful words right there. Listen to it. I'm gonna say that. He said, and it's quoted, Shah Grant again, that's duality. He said there is positive and negative in everybody. It doesn't matter what your race is. Being God doesn't mean that the black man can't do anything negative, just like the white man being the devil doesn't mean that he can't do anything positive. That's powerful.
Yeah, that is powerful. Let's segue into that real quick. Is they claim that in their in this group that the men are gods and the women are earths. And
Earth. Yeah, just earth.
yeah, that's what they claim. So it's kind of like a male chauvinist kind of thing, and some people have argued that. I don't argue it, but I'm just bringing that up.
Yeah, some people have said that. Some people say that it's to show that men are the dominant, and it actually gets. And this is a perfect part. This is the perfect part that I'm about to read right now. It says,
but I mean, it's not just them. It's also throughout the Old Testament too. It's not them specifically. It's throughout almost every religious connotation through every book too. They
depends.
They are the product of other religions that have done the same.
It depends on what books you read, because that's why I tell people, what books are you talking about? The 66 books, the 73 books, the 80 something plus books? Which ones are you talking about? Which books are you considering? I'm just saying which books are they talking about when it comes out to the Bible?
I mean, you said that this group is a mixture of mainly almost everybody, and they have different beliefs and they share different religions, but when they come together, they seem to share the same ideals when it comes to being like the men are gods and the women are earths. And so if the men are going to stick around and not leave, that means they share the same belief on that level, right?
Well, they have that's why I call it a foundational belief. They got a foundational belief. So yeah, I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to make sure that I can find everybody. I probably have to go through page to make sure. But look, this is but to ask your question about the men being earth, or the gods and women being earth, this is perfect part that says right here, because it's the same guy that we're still talking about. Shah said, being God is about balancing the negative and positive elements within you so you can become in tune with your higher self. He eased off the locker, I'm sorry, onto my bed. That's what he taught each other in Egypt before we were stripped of our culture and the knowledge of ourselves and brought to America. So they're saying that they were brought from Egypt to America. You see how that plays in with some of the ideas? So, yeah, so and that's still the same guy. And we're gonna
wait, just specifically Egypt? Like, I mean, did he just make all of Africa Egypt? You know, I mean, Africa is a big continent.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's probably just his. Let's see what else.
That's his interpretation of Africa is just purely Egypt.
No, let's see what else he says. Let's see what else he says. Okay, he says Shah went on and on about the nation years. Hey, later I would learn about ancient religious men from the Middle East, like the Harafi founder Fazul Allah and Al Hakim of the Druze, who asserted that they were God. Okay, there were others from various religions who saw themselves as God, rising to the concept of incarnation. So what he said, what he's basically talking about. Okay, so he's probably talking about Egypt as far as. I'm not going to go into assumptions because he didn't
I
clarify.
mean, no,
He didn't
I
clarify
mean,
on it.
we could call it as it is. Basically, they are. You just mentioned it too. The reincarnation. I mean, the belief of them coming back as gods, or specifically as gods. So they believe they were gods before, and then they come back and they're gods again, meaning they have
Yeah.
come back again. I mean, it is what it is, and oh man, there's different cultures that believe the reason why a person comes back to Earth is because they've sinned and they haven't learned the first time how to
Well,
do the right thing.
not necessarily sin. It's not necessarily sinning because
I'm
some
just
people.
saying there's one group that believes that.
No. Because when people hear the word sinning, that means they're doing something bad. It's
Well,
not
no, they
necessarily.
they they failed the first time around. Basically, if you did not complete a task or a mission,
That's a better way to say it. Yep.
you failed that mission, and then
Yep.
all of a sudden you pass away, and then you end up at Peter's Gate or St. Peter's Bay. Let's use the Christian term, and then all of a sudden he says, well, you missed the mark. You're going back as a cat or dog or whatever, and let's try it again." And then here you're back again, or back as a human again. Let's see if you could pass again. Maybe you'll be more humble. Maybe you're going to be this or that. You know, and now you're back again. You're like, now you're doing it all over again. You think you're a god again. And you go back, and then you're like, oh no, you did it again. You think you're God. You're going back. I don't know. I'm just assuming that's what some people believe the failure is. If that's the case, if that belief was really true, Hitler is back on Earth.
Well,
I'm just
that's
saying.
well, see, that's the thing, and that's not necessarily true because his duty could have been to be who he was, and he probably passed his job because he was able to do it so well. So a lot of people look at it as you're supposed to come here and always do something good, but you can't have good without bad.
Mm.
So that's why they talk about duality. That just because as much as somebody's supposed to come to this planet to do something good, somebody's got to come down here to do something bad to even it out.
Because you're
And
part of something called destiny.
yeah, so and if you don't do
Maybe
it,
your destiny is to put people through turmoil and destruction. That way humanity travels a certain direction and changes all of the path of humanity in some way. That's another possibility.
no, it's
Nobody's ever.
scary.
I
It's
mean, some people
scary.
don't ever think about that.
No, it
It
is.
it
It's scary to think
an
about. I mean,
alternate timeline. Mhm.
it's scary to think about that. As many people that are sent here to do good, there's got to be the same amount to be sent here to be bad because you got to have the duality. You got to have the yin and yang. You got to have the balance. And if you don't, then one overrides the other, and that's they say technically that's not possible. That's why there's always that that happy
You
medium.
talk about yin and yang. Actually, it's showing up on social media. It's gone viral. Somebody actually created a vibration. And this is a little bit off the path here. They created a vibration where it shows a yin and yang symbol through a natural vibration with atoms and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Yeah, you'll probably spot. I think some people have spotted it already on X and everything on social media. I spotted it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's not a natural formation. It's actually an unnatural formation. Somebody has been playing around with vibrations, and then it just came up with a yin and yang symbol, which is hard to do actually, but I think it's pretty cool that people can form shapes from vibrations
Mhm.
and atoms. So
So that's pretty interesting. So here, this is
yeah.
going to be. It's not going to be long. These paragraphs, but it's 4 paragraphs, and this is important because this is It comes up to who this guy was. So just to remind everybody, who I'm talking about is
I also
this guy right
wanted to
here.
bring up this group is a science type group, right? Not a
Some of them
religious group.
Some of them are. So don't forget, this is the guy that I'm still talking about. So this is what he
Yes.
says. He says, coming to my personal understanding of spirituality was something new. It took me years because I consider spirituality tantamount to religion, but through learning in the nation to simplify things and study etymology, because I always talk about that, I discovered that the word spirit derives from the Latin word spiritus, which meant breath. I also associate breath with life, thus making spirituality an internet energy that generates life. So spirituality is about becoming in sync with internal energy that complements your mental and physical being. So that's what that's why he gave you just his description of what spirituality says, and then he goes on to say, Allah had derived or devised a numerical system called supreme mathematics. I would later learn that ancient people of Kemet and the Kabbalistic Jews, I always say that wrong, had a numerical system called gematria. That's what I was telling you about. And certain Muslims used a mathematical system called abjad. Supreme mathematics are principles that correspond to the numerical system of 1 through 9 and 0. The first
cipher is 0.
The first principle in knowledge, and it is first because a person should have knowledge before speaking or acting. That was a principle I began to live out immediately because speaking and acting without knowledge of situations had caused me problems in the past.
Number
So
one,
that's what it says. Yeah, that's why I always tell people, if you don't.
Number 2 is wisdom. Number 3 is understanding.
And then he goes on to say, Allah has devised a system called the Supreme Alphabet, which involves unique principles that correspond to the English alphabet. They work on conjunctions with supreme mathematics. The 12th degree is love, hell, right, which shows that life is filled with cycles of us experiencing love and hell in order to emerge right. I identified that with love I received from my family, the hell I experienced on the streets, and me emerging right after joining the nation and changing my life. The more I used my principles these principles and other teachings of the nation, the more I began to grow. So this is where it gets important. He says, after 16 months on Rikers Island, I was transferred to downstate correctional facilities, spending most of my day alone in an empty cell provided me with a solitude that was foreign. I was a sociable person, was regularly busy with family, girlfriends, and comrades. My newfound solitude caused me to face myself and consciously begin my lifelong process of introspection. I thought of how Shah would always praise me for being smart and how he was the first person I met who revealed in his own intellect. Wondered if my life would have been the same had I crossed paths with Shah before I became a player in a game that's not a game. So, I mean, like I was telling you earlier, so a lot of these people found this because of what they went through. So now this is actually Dr. Supreme Understanding right here. This is who I'm going to go over now. This is actually the guy that I've been going over with the books, like When the World Was Black.
Yeah.
There you go. That's as close as I could get it, but that's the one right there.
I like it when a book has pictures in it. It really shows that they did all their research, and
well, he got a lot of pictures.
A little bit of a documentary and historical documentary. It's more like a museum of pictures that relate to what they're talking about.
So this is him. So he goes by Supreme Understanding Allah. Allah's Garden, Atlanta, Georgia, and he's this is what he says. He says, "Do you realize there is a conscious intelligence that is running every system in your body right now as you read this? This innate intelligence is ensuring the smooth operation of bodies 11 systems. So he gives the different systems throughout the body. You remember I was talking about Wu-Tang Clan. He talks about, he gives a little synopsis about what Ghostface Killer says and what Papa Wu says. But what he says right here that's interesting to me was that he says the brain cell in the universe is basically one and the same. And this is why he says it, because if you look at that, let's see.
He gives you a little diagram of God, huh? Brain cells and the universe. He kind of puts them together. But also brain cells are like brains are like trees too. If you ever see trees without leaves, they look like brain stems as well.
Well, I seen that more. I think it's in here somewhere. We'll see if it's in here. If not, I'll remember to talk about it. So he like I said, he talks a lot of different things because he has knowledge in different things. He's actually a historian. He's actually a history teacher with a doctorate. That's why he calls himself Doctor Supreme Understanding, because he actually has a doctorate.
I mean, the guy has an actual real name. He goes by a pseudonym.
Does he say it in here?
Yeah.
I don't think he says it in here.
But that's his author's name that he puts on the books.
Yeah, that's his actually 5%er name.
5%er name that they give him?
No, that he gave himself.
Oh, he gave himself?
Yeah. So here we go. He
Sounds
says,
like me.
He says religious people often look at the birth process as proof of miracle working unseen God. God is in the details, but is, as the Quran describes, nearer to you than your jugular vein. In a woman's body, the egg can be found in only one fallopian tube at a time. A man's sperm, upon reaching the woman's uterus, consciously decides which way to turn and picks the correct path. 90% of the time, this sperm has almost nothing in it except DNA. That's your mind still at work. Why do you think you get tired when she's the one that's pregnant? So he's saying that basically when you get a woman pregnant and you're tired, it's because your mind is still working. So think about that as telepathic ideas. See,
you're reflecting on the person that you're living with.
He says the ancient Egyptians understood all this, which is why they reached the highest level of development any civilization has seen.
So why do you think the men went to war when the women were pregnant at home? If they stuck around at home, they were reflecting on the women that were pregnant at home. So they went to war, like in Roman times. They didn't stick around at home, did they? They were traveling around for months and months and months and months, years and years. They were fighting wars, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, did they have the telepathic ability far away? Were they connected to their pregnant wife? You have to be actually in close proximity, probably eye to eye, to feel that ability, not far away. But if something happens, like a disconnection between the woman and the man that you love, I think that's a real bond right there as well. Sometimes someone feels something that if that person is no longer in this world or this plane of existence, I think that there's a truth behind that. If they're missing in this plane of existence, you could feel the emptiness between that person and yourself. If you're really truly bonded with that person, it's an emptiness that is something that you can't experience physically. I don't know. Have you ever experienced that in your life? I have. The loss of my mom is one of them.
I don't really. I still have both my parents.
Yeah, when my mom left this earth and I was holding her hand, I felt her soul leave her body, and I was there in front of her. It was hard. So I was able to experience that.
All right, here's the next tabs. So he says Chinese attitudes towards blacks weren't always prejudiced or xenophobic. A lot of that is the byproduct of China's interactions with other foreigners, namely Europeans. In fact, the devil term was first applied to incoming whites after enough bad experiences with foreign forces. China became xenophobic. However, with the persistent Western influence through television and other imports, the Chinese learned how to be racist. However, it wasn't always this way. Ancient historical records reveal healthy pattern of trade and cultural exchange between China and East Africa. Some of the ancient respect for blackness can still be seen in traditional Chinese opera of today, where a black face or darker features meant a rough, bold, or noble character in a person of character or courage, righteousness, and incorruptibility, or an impartial selfness personality. Now, this is interesting because he used the word blackface. So when you look at European description of blackface, it's usually a lot of black face, it's black skin, of course, with big old red lips, and they look like they're some kind of savage. I know it because I grew up in the 80s and I've seen it, and I've witnessed how they depict it. I've actually seen cartoons that were that did depictions of Africa from America just in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And comparing it from when the Russians were doing the same thing. And you can tell that it was totally two different types. So when people say racism this and racism that, I've dealt with my fair share of racism. Some of the people that we know, and I'll send you a video later.
And the propaganda of racism.
No, I'll send you a video, not even just the propaganda of racism. I've experienced it to the point where people have said they wanted to just kill me because of the color of my skin. I've actually just recently, just on X, horrible. This happened on X too. I got a video and audio, and a lot of people, it's so funny because you see a lot of people do it. A lot of people call out other people for doing certain things, right? Whether they're wrong about pieces of information. But when I call out people about racism, it's all like, oh, this dude's just being that way. There's a lot of people out there that are actually racist out there. And it's really sad how bad it is because like I said, I've experienced my share.
Do you think it's cultural?
So, no, I think it's I think it has to do with a lot of mixed of different things: ignorance, pride,
maybe it's
jealousy.
Something that happened to them.
No, it could be a whole bunch of things. It could be anything. I know some of the people that that talk about it, that talk about how I go so hard on it. Sometimes when I see it on X and stuff like that, I've actually seen some of the people that I know personally live in the most famous sundown towns here in Georgia, bro. So like, they're used to it. So when they don't see it affecting other people,
I noticed white people living in poverty in black neighborhoods that actually have had a sister or brother or a mother gunned down by a black man. They don't hold like a racist
no, they just don't
against black people.
Yeah, they just hate the person.
So there's that excuse. I've heard people use that excuse, like, oh, something bad happened because a black person gunned them down. I'm like, no, I've lived in those poverty neighborhoods. They have lived amongst minorities, and I don't see the racism amongst them. Understanding other minorities.
Man, I'm telling you, let me tell you,
I don't see the racism in there.
Let me tell you, in here in where I'm from, you have the racism. My mom is white and my dad is black. So I've seen family on both sides. Matter of fact, my mom's sister, her husband, he was Vietnamese. I wasn't allowed to come to the house because I was the N-word. So I experienced it and this is me as a little kid. So I experienced it from adults as a little kid. Like I couldn't go to my cousin's house to play with him because I was the N-word.
You need to make a stocking
stuffer. But let's just think about this.
The title of your book should be "Why Am I the N-Word?"
No, but let's think about this for a second. This is family members, right? But my mom's aunt or my mom's sister married this guy. And then what's so funny after that is after they got a divorce, she married a black man. So her first son, my cousin, he's actually not Vietnamese, Filipino. I'm sorry, Filipino or something. He's one of those. I can't remember which one. And German, and his sisters and brothers are black and white. Right. So this is just stuff that I've seen. So I know what racism looks like. I know when people are throwing it under the table or trying to do subtle type of things. And, I know it. And it's so strange because I have long hair. Right. But when I jump out my truck with my cowboy hat and my boots, they're like, matter of fact, I went to the store the other day. I went into the store the other day, and this dude is a white dude that was behind the counter. He said, I ain't never seen a black dude jump out a truck like that with cowboy hat and boots. And I was like, matter of fact, they're all over here. Like, I see it a lot. Like,
it's like they just saw the Dukes of Hazzard being black.
I think what it was is because he's seen this.
They just imagined the General Lee.
Nah, I think what it is because I have tinted windows. I think it's because I have a big old truck. I think it's because they seen the black dude jump out that big old truck with the cowboy. So they thought it was because my music's loud too.
I'm gonna ride with you, and then I come out the passenger side and say, "Adele, what's up, homie?"
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because
we're gonna do the full cultural thing.
I've experienced my share of racism, but with Dr. Supreme Understanding, he's from India. Well, he's not from. I don't know if he was born in India, but I know his parents are from India. So he's not African American, but his description of black is different than what some people consider black. Well, not everybody in America.
He's also in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Well, I'm in Georgia too, so I'm just saying
you're all the way east Georgia.
But what I'm saying is that
I've been through Georgia, and I try to drive as fast as I can out of Georgia, and then even faster through South and North Carolina into Virginia as quick as I can to get out of those states, because those states are scary in I-95, man. Yeah.
So here's the next tab. He says, now this concept, and this is the same thing about, the Chinese, and I was talking about the blackface and how blackface can be represented as a stereotypical, take shots at somebody and their culture, or to say, hey, these people are, they're just regular humans, just like us, trying not to put somebody underneath. But he says, now the concept might be even harder for you to wrestle with the Chinese man as God. Okay. This, too, is our historical legacy. During the Shang and Zhao dynasties, the veneration or worship of a high god known as Dia, D-I, was very popular. In addition, the Shang kings were known as Shang Di, which literally means the Lord above. According to Clyde Winters, the first Shang king was called Zon Wang, which meant Black King, and alternatively as Zon D, which meant Black Emperor or Black God. Remember when we went over the Black God book? The Black God is actually the term that they use for that. So that's why he was talking about what's interesting about Chinese civilization is that
mythology.
They're saying is that there's not mythology, that their civilization, that they're it began because of the fact that Africans went over there and civilized that area.
How did they get past those mountains just to get over there? That's very cold. And I have black friends. They don't like the cold. And yet alone live in Alaska is.
Now you see how you
difficult.
but do you see how you just stereotyped all black people by saying they don't?
Not saying all black people. I have black friends. I was just saying specifically my black friends don't like being in the cold. They say, nah, I'd stay in Florida, But I mean, those are my black friends because they don't like being like going up north. Now there's people that are black that are up here up north. They seem like they don't have any choices because this is where they live, this is where they grew up, and this is where they're gonna stay. But I mean, people in Florida, I guess they're the same way too. I don't know if it's cultural or, I mean, some people complain about the weather. I mean, I've heard comedians talk about the weather being way too cold. Is that true or is that not true?
So I want to show you.
I'm not
something.
trying to be racist. I'm just trying to focus on the physical part and the cultural part of.
You the anthropologist for the physical part. You should know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty much telling you that nobody likes to take vacations to Anchorage, Alaska
Shit, I do. I'm
during the
about to
winter
go there.
time.
Check it. What you talking about? Yeah,
During
they
the
do.
winter time?
Bro, you have no idea how many people like to go up there for the scenery at wintertime.
Winter
You
time? Oh
tripping?
my
Yeah, you
goodness,
tripping.
man.
You tripping. So here we go. Look, here's
I don't know.
well, they got some women on here that actually tell their stories. So I'm gonna tell you one of them right
I'm gonna
here.
have to put you to the test on Anchorage or Alaska.
Oh man, I ain't worried about the cold. I can put clothes on. I ain't tripping about that. Here we go. So
Bro, this is not about clothes. This is like thick clothes
yeah, that ain't nothing.
and thick boots.
That ain't nothing.
Walk
So
like, you walk like this, like a penguin.
you must have ain't used your code gear in the military then.
But you walk like a penguin. You don't even walk normal.
So the first chick is she's from Hero to How You Doing, the destruction of masculine black men. She goes by Beautiful Sea Asia, Newark, New Jersey, and she just basically talks about how the world basically beat down black men. She talks about the slavery and post-traumatic mental illnesses. She talks about the GMO foods, the DNA manipulated by scientists. She talks about chemicals such as BPA, NEPs, which also disrupt and alter hormone production. These chemicals have been proven to manipulate the hormones of human beings, whether that is a D-cup breast on an 11-year-old girl or a 16-year-old boy lusting after the star football player. So they got all the second one. This is her story, and her name is Empower You Mecca Wise Understanding, Allah's Garden in Atlanta, Georgia. And she goes, Tiffany always had a hard time saying no. When she was just 13 years old, she had her first sexual experience. She tried to say no. All she knows is that she left feeling abused and ashamed. This was her first recollection of being taken advantage of, but certainly not her last. Males and females alike always seem to have her doing things that she never wanted to do or didn't totally feel comfortable with. She sort of just went with the flow, never really having her own agenda. She thought back to her casual sexual experiences in cars, alleyways, garages, and playgrounds, to name a few. All of those interactions were short-lived. So she basically just opened up about her experience and why she's basically a 5%er and believes it. That's why I was telling you earlier that not all of them believe the same thing. And the reason why is because they all have their own journey to what led them to be in one in the first place. So hers was what she just described with her first sexual experiences. And then you have people who were abandoned by family members. Here we go. We got the Principles of Learning, Firstborn Prince Allah, Mecca, Harlem, New York. He says the 6 principles of learning is silence, listening, remembering, understanding, judgment, and action, and characteristics of a wise person. And he talks about qualities to develop in yourself by listening, paying attention with your eyes and ears. That's why they say it's important to pay attention, look at a person when you're talking to them, and then, or when they're talking to you. Concentration, being able to focus intensely with your mind's eye on what is being said, done, or studied without distraction. So basically, you know, how some people say they got to listen to music in the background or watch a television and they have to study. Well, that's part of a distraction, because when something catches your ear, you lose distraction and focus on that. Remembering, developing the ability to recall or recite all important details of discussions, speeches, lessons, and pictures, and etc. This is what I excel at. And the reason why I say that is because when I read a chapter in the book, I don't go just next to the next chapter. I try to replay that chapter over and over again doing something else. So while I'm writing an article or editing a video, I'm playing that chapter over and over in my head again. And then I go back and look at the tabs just to play it over and over again. And then once I understand it, that's when I move to chapter 2. A lot of people, they just read, and they're like, yeah, I read thousands and thousands of books, and they just ran straight through it and don't even understand like 25% of what it was being said. And then it says memorizing, developing the ability to retain, organize, and present in an order all facts, information, knowledge, etc. when questioned. Meaning that's why I answer questions based off what I know. I don't go off of assumptions. I don't go off of ideas. I go off of what I personally did myself in research. So if I say that, I give you an example. So I did a live on Eric Von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods book, right? And I was sharing it to somebody because they was talking about it. This one guy comes in and says, well, I've done 2 episodes or 2 podcast episodes with him. I said, okay, what did you learn? And he says, well, Eric Von Daniken wasn't the first person that came up with that theory. So first of all, Eric Von Daniken came up with many theories. So I don't know what the hell he meant by a theory. So what I told him was, just before we even get into this discussion, I want to let you know that I am a best-selling author on this subject, meaning that I've done my due diligence. Not only that, I have a website, and I told him all this stuff.
Okay.
This fool going to go and then block me. So my point is, yeah, because the point is because he's happy where he's at. He's happy with the information he has. He doesn't care about the information that can show anything otherwise.
And Eric Von Daniken is a family friend. I mean, rest in peace. He's no longer with us, but he's a family friend of my family, my father, which also passed away. And we know Eric Von Daniken. And
like I said,
basically Eric Von Daniken was boots on the ground. And when he theorized what he was doing, he did it differently from the first person that theorized, which was not boots on the ground. So basically he took the theories of other people and went a step further and traveled the world to prove those theories were real. And he found more than what he bargained for. He found
I think he was wrong
stuff
on a lot of. No, I think I don't think he found anything.
He wasn't correct on so many of the things, but he found stuff that other people didn't find by being on boots on the ground.
Look, see, this is the thing that a lot of people mix up. I give Eric Von Daniken respect for opening up people's minds, because obviously academic scholars can't do that. They can't do that, or at least they couldn't do that in the past. Now it's a lot easier. And I say that because, first of all, he traveled to places, but he only shared the stuff that made him feel comfortable, meaning that there's no Sumerian. First of all, nobody in Iraq believes, well, not too many people in Iraq believe extraterrestrials like that. I can tell you that right now. I've been there twice. I've asked them. I had some of these guys watch this show. You know who they believe in? Allah. That's it. Okay. So now you have to go to the actual sources. So if he said he traveled the world, you damn sure didn't travel the world to Iraq in the time.
Yeah, he didn't.
I can tell you that. Right.
He went to Egypt, but he didn't go like
they didn't go
like
to
Syria
the place,
or something like that.
They didn't go to the place that it mattered. Meaning that, I'm not saying Egypt doesn't matter, but their whole premise and their whole order and their ideas, just like Billy Carson, all their ideas comes from the Sumerians. Okay, they don't start with the Egyptians. That's just part of it. Just like Mesoamerica is part of it too. I've been to Iraq. I've been to some of the places that they'll never get to see ever because they destroyed it. I've seen them with my own eyes. If I'd have knew that I was going to be on this journey and this path that I was going to be on, I'd have took plenty of pictures.
Well,
but even
if you were try to do boots on the ground with everything, every knowledge, let's say, for instance, because that's what AI is about, is gathering all of human knowledge and put it together. It's hard for one human being to gather all that knowledge and retain it all. and that's
Yeah,
where AI succeeds and where humanity doesn't. And that's the other thing. That's what we're going to talk about in the next podcast. It's about AI in the future here. In
yeah.
the
So
and we're going to be talking with Dr. Didi. You know,
yeah, yeah. So
uh,
but that's what I'm saying is that my point is that if you're going to make an ancient alien show about the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, and all these other stuff, and you're going to start it because Eric Von Daniken started that, you have to have at least been there. They haven't been to the spots. They might have been to some of the open cities, but they haven't been to the spots that I've been to. I guarantee you, because they destroyed it. We was at war when that happened, and the
it
show
looked like
came out.
he's stuck with only that, right? He only stuck with that same Dog and Pony show and didn't
No,
expand on it that much, didn't he?
no. I think what happened was because Dr. Supreme Understanding dislikes the Ancient Alien show a lot, and I understand why. Is because they make it seem like aliens did everything. They also use their information from Zachariah Sitchin. Well, I've done all the same thing that we're doing now. I did on, Zachariah Sitchin's book, but I was able to go into detail to what took. This one is more bland and quiet, and I told you this one is not a really fun subject to talk about because everybody has their own ideas. I just wanted to go over this because you was talking about the 5%ers. So this is what 5%ers think. Okay, this is basically, quote unquote, what some people would consider a religion or a faith or a belief or something. But the point is that Eric Von Daniken, he was boots on ground, but people that hyped him up, like Giorgio Tsoukalos and Billy Carson, I think they led him the wrong path. And I'm telling you, the only reason why I'm saying this out of respect for him is because they don't understand that nothing in the Sumerian text says anything about planet Nibiru. The closest we think about planet Nibiru is from the Babylonians.
It doesn't specifically say the word Nibiru.
Listen.
It talks about the gods.
This is what it says. No, this is what it says. It does say it. It doesn't say that it was a planet that orbits our sun every 3,600 years. The closest idea of Nibiru of being a planet of anything is from the Babylonians, and it's known as Jupiter. That's it. So all this other stuff about
how do we know if it's just Jupiter though?
Because that's what they put in their text. That's actually in their cuneiform tablets. Anybody can go read that right now.
So they're saying that planet Nibiru, the actual Nibiru, is Jupiter, or are they saying that the specific god is?
No,
Nibiru?
keep it simple. Jupiter is known as Nibiru. So yes, Jupiter, the planet, is also known as Nibiru. So instead of saying Jupiter, you just say Nibiru.
Translated that and everything.
Yes, that's out there. That's the closest thing we have to it. Not that 3,600 year crap and all this other stuff.
So,
and that's important.
Just to say that just to talk to the audience, we will have to reconvene on that on another podcast and do a deep dive onto.
We can already do
translation on that.
I already did, but we can do one. It's already on my YouTube. I already go in straight details on it on my YouTube.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So we can do that again.
We could probably get a guest on it and someone that's in the hemisphere to communicate more of what that translation is.
Yeah. So this is why I say this guy's book and his writing style is if certain people read it, they won't like it because it goes against, they don't like certain words. I always say when people hear the word black and then you start following it up with types of people or God and like that, people tune out immediately. That's why I was telling you this book right here is going, a lot of people won't really like the way it goes just because of this. But Dr. Supreme Understanding, he's a historian. He's a history guy. He actually has a PhD. That's not his name. We're going over the 5%ers. But what he talks about a lot is why is the black man God? So you know how, and like I told you, there's an Asian guy that's in here too. So I have to make sure I can find him.
Nobody else is God, but the black man is God.
Yes, and I'm gonna explain why he says that in a second. I'm gonna see if I can find this Asian guy real quick. But yeah, he says that because their wording of the word black is different than what most people would consider what is black. Like a lot of people will look at the word black and they'll look at, okay, it's African Americans, right? But that's not necessarily true, because you can have a Dominican black, you can have a Mexican black. Black is just light brown. You're black considered
I have a
if you're
hard.
skinny.
It's hard for me to take it serious because they're human beings. How can you consider yourself a god if you are a person that makes mistakes? You fall down. You don't remember things as
You
you
don't you
should
don't think
remember them.
you don't think
Time
God made
changes.
you don't
You're not in control of time and space. God is control of time and space.
you don't think God made a mistake?
No.
What about the rainbow incident?
What rainbow incident?
Look up the rainbow incident real quick. Look up what God said about the rainbow.
Oh, you would have to explain more in detail about the rainbow incident.
Just type it in ChatGPT, God and rainbow.
Rainbow. I
And
don't
what
know
he
anything
said.
about
Yeah,
that.
read it. Read it. I want you to read it and
Oh,
see if it
geez.
sounds like he made a mistake. Yeah, he won't allow something like that to happen. And while you're doing that, I can't find this Asian guy. I don't know where he's at.
You lost him in there. There's supposed to be a.
No, he's so I don't know if he's in this one or another one. Like I said, I have a lot of books from Dr. Supreme Understanding. I'm not sure if this is the last one that I have to do or if I have another one.
So it says right, a sealing an everlasting covenant with Noah, his descendants, and all living creatures. God promised never again to destroy the earth with a flood, using the rainbow and the clouds as a visual reminder of this pledge of mercy, faithfulness, and peace.
Does that not sound like a mistake? I promise I won't do that again. What that sound like to you?
Well, would you like me to explain what a mistake is and what is not a mistake for God?
No, not for God. Look at what a
God-
mistake is.
Here, look. God is and let me explain what God is. God is, let's say for instance, for God, time doesn't exist. So time is like present, past, and future. We've talked about this before. And anything that God does, it exists in all time frames. So let's say for instance, God eliminated all things on earth. But what you consider a mistake was basically not a mistake. But for God, let's say for instance, if God didn't remorse or show remorse for what God did, and I don't say he, I never use the word he when I say God, because I don't consider God a he or she. I never put a gender on God because God doesn't procreate or make God babies or make humans into God. To me, God is everlasting. That's my belief. And God does not die or God doesn't get born. God is forever. So for me, it's just that's the way my belief is on that. For other people, they believe that we are basically the birth of from God. I really don't see that. That is where I think we're fallible on. We're just human beings. We're creations from God, but we're not God's babies.
So here, this is perfect. This is perfect. What we're going to get into then, because this is actually a list of what God is according to the
I think
consciousness.
we built this whole world thinking that we are we are babies from God, so that we can make ourselves feel special on that. But I mean, I don't know that I just wanted to reiterate in that sphere. Go
All right,
ahead.
so here we go. So he says, "Why is the black man God?" The following essay is a brief attempt to present and explain the godhood of the black man for contemporary readers. I have made significant effort to limit the technical vocabulary so as to ease the pace in reading and avoid clogging the passages with overly technical details. So he says, so we're going to just go straight into it. The original man, it is important that we first establish that the black man is the first man or the original man. Several major anthropological studies have documented this widely accepted fact. All people descend from him, either naturally or unnaturally. Europeans have been created fake fossils like the Piltdown mass to try to discredit and distort the origins of humanity and place the first man in Europe. The earliest fossils of man have been found in South Africa and in East Africa. That's actually incorrect. He says the first, and this is why I like doing this book. This is where I said this is where it starts getting interesting when I jump in.
It does get interesting.
He says let me see, where is it at? The first the earliest fossils of man have been found in South Africa and East Africa. That's actually that's incorrect. The first man, okay,
update that.
It depends on, first of all, what you consider a man. It goes through bipedalism, Australopithecus remedius.
That's true. That's true. What is a man?
Yeah, and that goes back.
This author.
Yeah, this goes back 3.4 million years ago, so you can consider that. But some people consider Homo sapiens the beginning of man because of our brain and our anatomically body and stuff like that, which goes back to 300,000 years in Morocco, Africa. The oldest Homo sapien bones is in Morocco,
We've talked about this in previous podcasts over and over again. What has been dug up? What is considered a human being, us, in comparison to Neanderthals, which is not us. Yeah. So we have actually had this discussion. Are we the culmination of Neanderthals, or Neanderthals are separate from us completely as a species on their own, and then they combined with us at a certain point, and then both Neanderthals and humans came together and had babies?
So he also gives some sources out here. One of the sources that he gives all the sources that I have, but one of the people that I got to speak to was he talks about Forbidden Archaeology, The Hidden History of the Human Race by Michael Cremo. I actually have a podcast discussion with Michael Cremo about his book, and I actually go about some of his tabs in there. I couldn't go over all of them because I had a lot of tabs on there and we only had a certain amount of time. But yeah, but see, this is what does Kuamel Allah Los Angeles. This guy right here. So this guy right here that we're about to go over right now, he says right here, because this is what you was talking about, and we also got to hurry this up because we got another one in like almost 30 minutes. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to hurry up.
As much as we would like to be here all day and entertain everybody on the same subject, because this book is very interesting, and we'll probably actually we would love for the author to be here next time, being our third, because we don't like just being two people talking about it. We would like to invite him and hear his side, and that's very important that we hear the author speak, so that way we understand what he's trying to say or write about, and we trust us. We're not as we won't be attacking the author. We'll allow the author to communicate his truth on this podcast.
Yeah. So this is what this guy says: what God is and what God is not. God does first things first. God is responsible and handles business. God doesn't procrastinate. God is a man of action who welcomes a challenge. God is reliable, not disingenuous, trifling, or funny style. God is moreover and shaker. God is a team player. God knows his role and is helpful. God knows when to step up. God fights the good fight. God is an authority, not an authoritarian. So he just basically, this guy has a lot of them. It's like a whole list, 2-3 lists, a whole page actually of what God is and what God isn't. So this is according to him as a 5%er. I can tell you right now, maybe not all 5%ers believe all this. So
no, of course not.
This would definitely be a challenge,
contradictory to some of them, and I truly believe that as well, because I have seen some of the 5%ers that has left the group have created their own groups, and they don't believe in those same principles. They have created different separate principles as well.
So here we go.
Makes more sense to their beliefs.
This one's actually interesting. So because I grew up with a white mom and a black father, I wanted to know where skin color actually came from, because I heard both sides. I've heard the curse of black skin, And I've heard white people as the, just I want to say the perfect individual. So this right here is very interesting.
What's up, Damien? Welcome.
I actually had a podcast discussion with Dr. Keith Chang, who is the geneticist who's actually the founder of what is considered the white gene, SLC 2485. He's actually uh he works at, I believe, at Penn State University. He's a geneticist. He's been on Good Morning America. He's been all around. He talks about this a lot, but a lot of people don't know this. So this is what's interesting. It says, back in history. Now, if we're going to talk history, we need to talk about the most controversial element of this teaching. This is going to get crazy. They say we teach that a mad scientist named Yakub made white people as if it was done on some petri dish somewhere. So basically, if you never heard of the guy named Yakub, he's basically supposedly the creator of white people. He's a big-headed black African dude that supposedly be the creator, and I believe it was Elijah.
Don't go too far. Is there not albino black people?
Yeah, but that ain't got nothing to do with this right now.
Come on.
Yeah, but what does that
Africans, have? White Africans, right?
No.
Come on. Don't discount.
It's funny you say that because
that group of people, because they want to be counted too in this podcast. Do not discount them just because they are a minority of the minority.
No, that's funny you say that.
We got to accept them too into this podcast, right?
That's funny you say that though, because Dr. Keith Chang, you should go watch that episode and you'll probably retract that statement, because you'll look at what that actually means, because he actually talks about albinos in that episode. We actually bring that up.
They can't even enjoy the sun.
So here he talks about they say, okay, here we go. They like for it to sound dumb to you, so you'll never look into it. But if it couldn't happen, why did white people spend hundreds of years trying to develop eugenics programs that do the same thing? Now, this is interesting. He talks about white people trying to create eugenics. He talks about the mad scientist Yakub, the black-headed guy who created white people. But what's so interesting about that is, in Dr. Supreme Understanding does write. He writes about Godfrey Higgins, which is one of my favorite historians. But I'm not sure this guy right here that we're talking about this is a lady. This is the lady that's saying it, actually.
Okay.
She's actually, it's a lady that's saying it. Queen Necessity Earth D Mecca Detroit. So she's from Detroit.
Big city, by the way.
Wait, no, is that? Yeah, she says that. So I'm not sure if she read his books, but if you read Godfrey Higgins' book, Anaclipsis Volume 1, I believe in the introduction, he mentions so Godfrey Higgins is supposedly a 33rd degree Mason. That's what he was supposed to be. He's supposed to be a 33rd degree Mason. He's a historian. He was a major historian. He shared a lot of history out there and information out there within his realms of what he could teach as far as being a Mason. And I think one of the parts that he tried to key to people was actually Yakub. He actually talks about Yakub, which is interesting. But Yakub is also known as Jacob in the Bible. So this is where it talks about. It says,
are we talking about Jacob's ladder or Jacob?
Yeah,
there's a different Jacob.
Yeah.
Dang,
Jacob in Hebrew means the split. Jacob. Wait, no, it says Yakub in Hebrew means.
Is Yakub Jacob?
Yeah, supposedly, yeah.
It's one in the same. Jacob is Yakub.
Yakub in Hebrew means the supplanter, as in his function role was supplant a new people for the dominant ruling people of the world. In ancient Egypt, Yakub means moon circuit, a period which is 6,000 years and coincides with the rule of whites. It is quite difficult to find any usable archaeological evidence from 6 millennia ago, but there are records that speak of a name named Yakub El or Yakub Allah, predating whenever the Jacob of the Bible was supposed to have been around. And this comes from a self-verifying chronological history of ancient Egypt by Orlando P. Schmidt. And she gives the page of 396, who was this Yokub El, did he give birth to the myths of the biblical Jacob grafting sheep and fighting with God. Read Genesis. So that's where you get the different types of colored sheep and stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting. Then the next tab is
you driving down the rabbit hole with me, man. Jeez.
Well, I want to talk about Yokub in the future because I have a book on specifically just him. So that'll be in the future. So the next tab will be.
We need to do a whole podcast on Yokub.
Let's see, where's it out?
How about it, chat?
Let's see. I want to see which next one I want to read.
Like screaming to the top of my lungs.
Because I don't want to do all these tabs, and the only reason why is because, like I said, these are just everybody's personal destiny and trial. I can't find the Asian guy that's in here. I don't know where he's at. It's probably in one of the other books, but he talks about himself being a 5%er, and he talks about and I wish I could find them to get a better understanding of it.
We're about to close up the stream soon here because
in like 30 minutes, in like 10 minutes, because we got to do
10 minutes.
I want to say he gives his description of a black man, and he talks about how the Asians were the first
bronze hair.
Well, was one of the first black men. I can't remember I wish I could find.
Actually, it's a bronze skin. Bronze skin, right?
I can't remember, bro.
That's what it is. Bronze skin and curly hair.
Like this book is, like I said, it's all different people. Oh yeah, here we go. This I found them. I knew he was in here. I'm telling you. So this dude right here. So he talked. This is the guy right here.
Focus. Blacks in China, Sincere Justice Allah.
Yeah.
Cypherland.
So here we go. I'm gonna read it right here while it's up here. Growing up as a first generation Chinese male in a traditional Chinese family, I always heard my family and relatives use the term Hagui or whatever however you say that, or black devils, ghosts when referring to black people. So I know that if you're Chinese and you're reading this, you probably don't identify with being black to begin with, but that's okay, because after you hear what I have to say, your concept of self may begin to change. Chinese male is how I'm usually classified. However, to be exact, I'm an original black man. Okay, you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm an original black man and I'm God. Let me explain. I'm original black because the Chinese are direct descendants of the first people on earth, according to Los Angeles Times article, Chinese roots lie in Africa, by science writer Robert Lee Hotz, and analyzes of first microsatellite markers across 28 different Chinese population groups.
Is this like proven by DNA, or are they just saying that? Because I did the DNA through Ancestry, and I ended up on the coastlines of Africa, but not in Africa.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure they got DNA. I mean, you can look at the haplogroups and see what DNA is in China. You can go straight, and Damien knows.
I mean, I have no connections to China. My DNA has no connections to any Asian groups out there, and it's just crazy. Most of my DNA is tied up into the European areas. So,
but this
and the islands off of Africa.
So this is actually so it's so funny that I said I was looking for this Chinese guy. So one of the tabs that I was talking about was actually from him. So this is what I say about when people talk about black. Not every 5%
in Morocco.
That's why I said not every 5% is going to believe that he's black, because they're going to be stuck in the idea that it has to be black skin. But when you become a true 5%er with true knowledge of self, that Asian man who's Chinese with what they would consider, some would say, yellow skin, he is a black man. So when people talk about 5%ers or people talking about the white devil, they're not saying white skinned individuals. It's a character almost. And it's because a lot of them and it's it's so strange. I've actually heard black people call other black people the white devil. I've actually heard that in the South, here in the South. I've heard that. So when I hear racism and I hear all this stuff, this when you if you were somebody who was nowhere near into this type of stuff and somebody said read this book, try to read this book, you would probably stop. Even if you liked reading books, if you liked history, if you liked science and you liked all that stuff, this would probably stop you because of some of the language in here. But like I said, you've seen that there were black people, you've seen that there was an Asian. There's actually, I want to say there's a white guy that's a 5%er in here, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they're not all black people. I'm pretty sure I've seen a white guy that was a 5%er in here. If I find him real quick before we close out in the next 5 minutes, I'll read his stuff out because either he's in his book or I've read about him somewhere else, because this is not the first book, the only books that I have on this stuff. There's a lot of different books, but yeah, man, all of them are different. Not all of them say where they're from either. And since you can't really see the picture too well.
Yeah, I shared my screen right there. I have an idea. So this is going to be where my DNA is and I'm sharing it with my consent to everybody.
You do have Asian people in your DNA. What you talking about?
Oh, there's
yeah, you do. Asia is right. All that right there.
This area is Asia right here.
No, all that Iraq, Iran, all that's part of Asia. What are you talking about?
Oh, this area right here. I have a little bit, mostly in that area right here. So most of my percentage is Portugal, northern Spain, Canary Islands, Spain, Azores. I don't know what Madeira is. Basque.
Yeah, so here we go. We got a Dominican. There's a Dominican chick. There's a Dominican chick in here that has her own journey. She's in Earth's Journey. That's hers. It's a mathematical historical narrative. It's Earth Isaiah Alat, and she's from Harlem. So we got a Dominican in here. So like I said, it's not always what people consider Black African Americans.
I am partially Irish.
Let's see.
I have some Irish in me. I don't know why.
But yeah, let's see. Maybe I'm almost at the end of the
French
book.
Canadian. Get that, people. French Canadian.
I think this is the dude right here. That's white. Let's see. I can't tell. No, I don't know. I know he talks about Wu-Tang a lot. He definitely talks about Wu-Tang a lot. But it doesn't. His is different. He's from Bridgeport, Connecticut. And let's see. It's for children. No, it doesn't say anything. I don't know where he went. But yeah, that's really about it. That's what 5%ers are. They got different ideas. They all have their own journeys. They all went through their own struggles. Some of them are still in prison. Some of them still are struggling, going through in and out of rehab and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really about it. So this is the book right here. What I've learned from reading this book right here.
If you guys are interested, go ahead and check it out. It's a little bit of a tough read, but it's worth it to learn a little bit about the culture, and it's a culture that existed throughout history, and I think it's something very important to read and understand. It existed. This person lived through it, and he was in the inside of that group. He actually worked and lived in the inside of that group, and it's great to have an insight of the people that were part of something that was greater than themselves, and they felt inflicted by the government, and they felt people were against minority groups at that time. So if you wanted to learn more about culture and in America, especially in America, this is really a good book to read. So please go ahead and check it out.
Yep. So right with that, we're going to end it. Like I always say, you know what I'm saying? Knowledge is
got a little hype now. Can I let it die down? I remember days in the trench. Time to go hard then, time to go all in, time to get my all to this shit. Panamera maxed out, first class flights out, Atlantic to Pacific, yeah, it's lit.